And I want you guys to all hear me loud and clear. It is game day. Attitude, effort, toughness, and knowledge. The fun starts today. Go, baby!
Welcome to another edition of Pitt on the Script alongside head coach Pat Narduzzi. I'm Casey Garrow. Coach, how do you feel after you got to break down the game film from Austin Peay on Saturday, now that you got to digest it all?
You know, I felt actually better after watching the videotape than I did prior to watching. You know, on the game, obviously in the first half, you felt great as far as, you know, what you saw, you know, on the field. But when you watch the tape, you saw a lot of little details being done the right way. Obviously, you're happy with the score. Anytime you can, you know, knock someone out like we did. And I've never been part of a 50-minute game. Usually it's a 60-minute game. So that was awful interesting. But, you know, I like how even in the second half, I was kind of like, this is sloppy in the second half. But our kids played hard and are going to learn from the mistakes they made in that second half.
Kenny mentioned this team was more than ready. They didn't need any motivation. They were self-motivated. But it seemed like when Paris Ford made that first interception, the sidelines, the tide seemed to turn. They seemed more than ready to play after that moment.
Yeah, I think mentally our kids were locked in, and I told them that yesterday. It was like, and we had talked for 2 weeks really about being mentally prepared, getting our minds right, and playing up, not playing down to some you know, lower opponents, which we've done here lately. And we can talk about it as a staff, but I think our captains and Eagles did a great job of enforcing what I was saying. They were giving us the same message. And I think that was part of the key. Obviously, it took me a few years as a head coach to get that figured out, but you know, our players were giving the same message, and it was done the right way.
Does the climate change anything? Because you don't know when you're going to play. I mean, you know you're playing this Saturday, but anything can happen. You mentioned sudden changes. Is that why everyone was all in on Saturday?
You know, I think they were all in Saturday regardless, Casey. I mean, you know, our kids were ready to play a football game. They were, you know, hungry for a different color jersey. They were sick of hitting each other, and our guys were all in. And again, if we're out there with 50 guys or 25 or 115, our kids will come ready to play.
Kenny was certainly explosive. He proved to be a dual threat quarterback on Saturday. How have you seen his growth from last year to now? Some of those intangibles.
You know, I think when you sit back there in the pocket, it's not easy. Coach Whip always talks about, well, it's easier to, you know, say it than to do it. But, you know, just some of the zone read keeps that we ask him, hey, if you feel like you can beat the guy, go beat him. It's not necessarily based on a shoulder of a defensive end. And, you know, he's a little bit more experienced now than he was. I mean, he kind of gets it. He knows who the personnel is. He's not just looking at, you know, a coverage now. He's evaluating defensive ends and who can I run on, who can I not. Who can I juke and make a move and at least put some, you know, less stress on the running back in the offensive line that it's just going to be handed off to a running back.
Pickett now in shotgun at the 6-yard line. Daniel Carter, the lone tailback. He will fake there. Pickett runs, dives, and scores. Kenny Pickett, reminiscent of one of his first college plays with the fake handoff, ran to the pylon and gets in for the 4-yard touchdown.
Kenny mentioned he wanted to run. Are you comfortable with him doing that? I know him and Coach Whipple had that in the game plan.
Yeah, I mean, we're comfortable with him running. You know, there'll be more runs, you know, when we need it, when we want it, and when it's useful for us. But Kenny likes to use his legs. He'd like to take that knee brace off, which is not for any injuries. It's his plant leg, and sometimes that's a leg that you know, is in the ground and someone's falling into your legs. But if he took that thing off, he'd need to be faster.
Used 5 running backs on Saturday. Running back by committee. Almost every single one of them scored. Who impressed you the most? From my chair, Vincent Davis seemed hard to tackle.
Well, Coach Casey, I think you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head, Coach. You know, Vince was, you know, he made people miss. You know, and I think that's what you have to do as a running back. It's not going to be these gigantic holes that anybody can run through. If that was the case, us 2 coaches could run through those holes, but running back job is to make somebody miss. He did a great job in protection. You know, Vince is the guy that can make people miss.
Jordan Addison, does the game plan change at all as you head into ACC play? He fielded punts and kick returns very well, 7 receptions for 35 yards, targeted a lot. Does it change at all this Saturday?
You know, it all depends. It depends on who's out there. It depends on, you know, what the coverage is. And, you know, it's all going to be based on what, you know, what the coverage gives Kenny. I mean, we don't start the play and say it's going to go to Jordan. I mean, it's all reading coverages, and if this guy does that, then we throw it here. If he does that, we throw it here. So it's all progressions, but it's not all about getting it to Jordan. It's about, you know, reading the progression. That's why so many different people, you know, got the ball.
Talk about making a statement. DJ Turner, you mentioned he's only been in this offense maybe 2 weeks, if that. Talk about some of his intangibles that we don't get to see. We only get to see him on the field or at practice.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart kid. He's reliable, obviously. I mean, the one ball, I mean, he caught the easy one down the middle. That was one thing, but that one that was, underthrown, he came back to it, got it. I'm not sure we catch that ball last year. It would have been one of those, but he made those plays, and I think that's also contagious as receivers go, wow, he made that catch. I got to make that too. We should be making all of them. And we still had a few drops the other day, and we've got to eliminate that from our football game.
You managed to get 70 players in the game on Saturday. How awesome is that? The reps are so important in today's climate. You hear somebody like Dayon Hayes, his name come up twice with 2 sacks. And how important is it to get these reps, especially right now?
It's really important for several reasons, and you never talk about it as a coach. I could never sit in a meeting next week saying, hey, I want to get these guys in the game, because you just can't talk about it, because you probably won't get them in. So I never talk about it, but it's one of the really first games since I've been here at Pitt, going into year 6, that we've been able to handle an opponent like that in the first half and then get guys like that reps. And you find 2 things when you get guys reps, whether are they ready or are they not ready? And sometimes they all think they're ready until they get out there on the stage and find out that didn't look so good. Maybe I still need more work. So I think it wakes some guys up, and for guys like Dayon, he's looking at it going, hey, maybe we should take another look at Dayon, even though we have in camp. We know he's athletic, we know he's talented, but it just makes you look at guys in a little bit different way, as far as in a good way, or some guys that still need some more work.
Well, it's certainly a statement win. Congratulations on that. We'll be back later on with a preview of Syracuse on Pitt Beyond the Script.